Good morning. Welcome to the Dailies on Echo Television, where we keep you updated with all that is happening in Nigeria from our Nigerian newspaper. We're having both mixed feelings in Kaduna, joy and sadness, where we're having about 137 students have been recovered. We will record that earlier in the month, about 200 plus students were being kidnapped from a community in Kaduna State, and we're saying that as of Friday, Saturday, about 137 were being rescued by the army, and then we're saying that there's still some that are still left in the bandit, and then we heard a teacher die out of complications. So quite a number of things, mixed feelings are, going on right now, but we hope that the remaining will be recovered soon and they will reunite with their families. I am Sada Elisha Tasho. Remember, you can be part of the conversation. Drop your comment, your views on our Facebook and YouTube, and then we'll do well to digest that and see how we can provide solutions to some of the things that are happening. I have Rachel Tansy with me in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning, Sarah.
All right, we should go into the paper, quite a number of stories, and we'd love you to be part, and we will start with the leadership newspaper.
The big story on the paper: as troops rescue 137 pupils. Controversy trails number of abducted Kuriga school children. Governor Sani says only 137 kidnapped instead of 287. Rescued victims spent 18 days in captors den may reunite with families today. Military takes credit, silent on ransom payment. You can find details on page 4. RSA condemns killing of policemen in Imo and Delta. On Palm Sunday, Khan urges leaders to emulate Christ. Fact check: why did Labour Party chairman accuse NLC? What did Labour Party chairman accuse NLC of? And trending: Kaduna governor announces release of Kuriga school children. For details of the trends and fact check can be found on page 2. Rent default soar as landlords tenants clash. This is amidst a hardship in the economy. You can start with the details on the front page. IGP Special Police Squad arrives in Kaduna concerning insecurity. Bauchi government denies spending 5 billion naira on foodstuff and refreshment. Amid amendment, Ayao Kul-led group prefers new constitution. Ekiti Varsity confers honorary doctorate on Adelusi Adeluyi. You can find details on page 12. We have picture stories showing the rescued school children, and that's all the news on Leadership newspaper.
Richard, this picture is not really looking great at all. You could see the way these children are looking hungry. You can see the way they're looking malnourished. You can see the way they're looking. I don't think they had a bath for the past 18 days. They have been in the dent of this robber. So you could actually see the way they are. I just wish we could actually protect their faces or something. But then regardless, I mean, we're happy to see the faces of these. But I have a question for the Kaduna State government. For the past 18 days, we've been having the number at 287. And then here we are having the governor say that, no, it was just 137. How come we didn't get to rectify all of this thing? Are we trying to say that the over 150 that were added was just a mistake?
So like, when I saw these figures, I was also concerned. Is it the misinformation or is it something that is hidden? Because it doesn't make sense. It's now that you've gone to rescue the children and you're coming back and you are saying 137. Well, we clearly remember when this started, and then it was a head count. It was after everything that happened, and then a realization that this is a number of students that were taken and missing compared to the number that were in school and all of that. And then now we are seeing 137 because that is what you rescued back and not 287. We are looking at a difference of over 150,000. And I mean, sorry, 150. And then you can't just help but wonder, what is this? What is this? Because it doesn't make sense on a lot of levels, because was information given wrongly, or was there just a misleading somewhere, somehow? because everybody is expecting 287 to be back. And if now you're back with 137 and you're saying no, it's not that some are left and this was what the military could, these are the numbers that the military could rescue. You're saying that now every child has been rescued, and then the number is 137. So I just hope that it's just a misinformation, that truly the number was 137, so that it will be that there is no child in the kidnappers den whatsoever. That is good news. If truly it's 137 and then all are back safely. But then if there's just some cover-up somewhere and this number are more, and there's just so much politics, and you know, you can't understand certain things, I just hope that there's no child out there and then the government is cutting down the number for whatsoever reason we don't know. But I just hope that truly there was just misinformation, but now every child is safe and back home.
Well, we just like you said, we just hope it was actually misinformation coming. But I just hope we don't have such information coming out and then it will take over 2 weeks.
Yeah.
For us not to have, I mean, a correction or rectification, or to say, you know what, this is was actually a mistake on our own part. We gave the wrong figure. Because I can't just help but imagine, this is not the first time, not the second time, not the third, not even the 5th time, not even the 10th time, Richard, that we are having schools being taking rounds or adoption of students in schools. We can mention various states that have had their own fair share of this thing, and then we always see that we hardly have the full number coming. They always come somehow in batch and batch and batch, and then till date, it will cast my mind back to the issue of Chibok. Till date, we're yet to have the complete number, Richard. Till date, even I will talk about the adoption. Till date, Leah is still there. That is what we know. So I'm just hoping that let's always have the information correctly the way it is. This will help people to have a follow-up and also to trust the government, so they don't feel that the government is trying to hide something somewhere. So we are really happy that they're back. Well, let's take a look at the Daily Sun newspaper. Kanu will soon be freed, Ohanize assured the Southeast youth. You can find detail of that story on page 5. Still on Daily Sun newspaper, military opens up on rescue of Kaduna school children. We couldn't eat, sleep, reveal the parents. Federal government deploying strategies to end school abduction, coming from Tinubu. Police confirm murder of 12 personnel in Delta Bush, set to honor them. That is apart from those who actually died. Well, we hope that you can find more on page 4. Tinubu opts for austerity 72 birthday, talking about the birthday of the president, which he said he will be celebrating on a low key. NDIC report 10 high-profile banking infraction to EFCC, and then Christians mark Palm Sunday with procession, fanfare, rekindle faith, and we can see a picture story here showing us the Catholic priest of the Christ King Catholic Parish in Abuja. During the Palm Sunday, we can see kids holding the palm trees to actually show that. Obasanjo Obugulon Oti for law scrubbing pension for ex-governors and their deputies. More detail on page 83. Dangote disburses food items worth 15 billion naira. More detail can be found on page 2, and that's all in Daily Sun newspaper.
On the Matrix newspaper, naira at 400 naira to a dollar, unrealistic. This is coming from Magalu. He says a merciless artificial value of naira fosters speculators arbitrage that bled the economy. You can start with the details on the front page. We have on sports, Chelsea to smash transfer record for Napoli of Siemens despite FFP concerns. Imo, Kogi, Kano, Oyo, Oshun, Edo, top states that borrowed from CBN to pay salaries. How 31 state governments borrowed 457.17 billion naira to pay salaries under salary bailout facility. The big story, released Kuriga students confusion over number of abductees. 287 figment of some people's imagination. Only 137 were abducted, Katsina Governor Defense Headquarters clarified. Rescue of abducted student result of collaboration between federal government, states coming from Tinubu. And then we have Atiku Obi Hill student release call for strengthening of the Safe School initiative. Kaduna Governor Sani Uba absolved Sheikh Gumi of any role in rescue of students. You can start with the details on page 2. Strike over SSANU NASU direct member to resume work. Hardship Tinubu cancels 72nd birthday celebration. Nakon increases Hajj fare to 6.8 million naira, sets March 28 deadline for payment. We have another tragedy in Nollywood as veteran actor Amechi dies at 64. 4 killed in Bauchi Ramadan Zakat stampede. You can start with the details on the front page. Falana demands compensation for families of Nasara students killing during palliative distribution and stampede. And each time you see a stampede, it just shows how uncivilized we are. And we are yet to grow. It's not about importing champagne. It's not about cruising. It's about how organized you are. That's just what civilization is. And to see that we are in the 21st century and people are dying because of stampede in palliative, it shows you that we are still where we are. We have picture story rescued from terrorists. Nigerian valiant troops rescued 78 persons comprising 35 women and 43 children held hostage by the terrorists. And that's all the news on the Matrix newspaper.
On Blueprint newspaper from Christina State, bandits kill husband, abduct wife, daughter during Ramadan prayers. Detailed on page 6. Parliamentary diplomacy critical to world peace, conflict resolution coming from the Senate President Opabio. MTN losses 7.2 million active subscription to NIN SIM linkage enforcement. Also, we are having parents speak up after the Kuriga children's rescue. We couldn't sleep, eat as some parents die from trauma. Tinubu Uba signing London release. And then here we're having security agency. The defense headquarters 3 terrorists to free others. 200-man IGP squad arrives. Kaduna, more detail in the paper. No celebration, I will dedicate my birthday to nation building, coming from the president. 66 buried, 44 kidnapped in Niger attack. This is an investigation. How my father was killed, son of disease monarch. More detail can be found inside the paper. NASU SANU suspend strike, direct members to resume work. That's Monday, which is today, after the 1-week warning strike they have. Hajj 2024 intending pilgrims to pay additional 1.918 million naira. This is a report coming from the NEHCON. And the issue of hunger, Dangote spent 15 billion naira on food intervention programs across Nigeria. Let's not forget he's also feeding a number of people in Kano State for the Ramadan. So quite a number. This is very commendable coming from individuals contributing to the issues of such things like hunger. So you can find more detail. We're having picture story again showing us some of the students from the government secondary school that were being kidnapped, and here we have them on the front page of the paper. You can do well to grab the paper and read more detail of any other story that is of interest to you.
On the Nation newspaper, the big story, Tinubu pledges safer school after rescue of Kaduna pupils. Defense headquarters to hand over 137 Kuriga school children today. Teacher dies in captivity. All of the 137 children are safely back. Any other figure is a figment of imagination. This is coming from the governor. I don't think it was an imagination. It was the number that was given, and it should have been corrected. If the first day there was misinformation or an assumption, the second day the real figure should have been out, because this kidnapping was on the news for over a week. Enough room for the numbers to be corrected, but nothing was done about it, not until now that the children were rescued. You can start with the details on page 2. How to tackle national debt challenge by expert. Who gets on the APC governorship ticket? A question. You can find details of the analysis on page 29. President Oke's low-key birthday. Dangote votes 15 billion naira for food palliative. NASU SSANUN strike. You can find details of this story on page 3. RMAFC begins review of revenue allocation formula. You can find details on page 3. OTOB leadership tussle deepens Labour Party crisis. FAAC revenue agencies in 1.7 trillion naira shortfall talks. You can start with the details on the front page. Federal government to revamp 42 youth centers in battle against unemployment. Details can be found on page 4, and that's all the news on the Nation newspaper.
On the Punch newspaper, $7 billion FX OPS threatening to sue bank over rejected application. More detail found on page 9. Jebega MTN top as capital market lose 248 billion naira. Federal government plan joint cable protection disruption lingers in 6 countries. More detail found in the paper. Fan mourn as veteran actor Amici died at 61, and this is really a sad one. He died as a result of the issue of kidney transplant. We remember at the same time while Mr. Ibu was in the hospital, he also was soliciting for support from good-willing Nigerians so that he could have his kidney transplant, but then we saw, unfortunately, he lost his life. For those who watched the popular movie Akin and Popo, he was their father. So quite a sad one. We really send our condolences to his immediate family, the Nollywood family, and many others as well who have been affected by that. The big story on the paper, Kaduna abduction. Federal government plans school safety corps as 137 pupils regain their freedom. Tinubu vowed to end student abduction. NSCDC to train school safety corps personnel. Kaduna governor hails the president. Military put the pupils abducted at 137 say teachers sick. More detail found inside the paper. And on Palm Sunday, Gaza Christians seek peace. Pope mourned the 137 Moscow victims. More detail on page 8. Grieving families and friends demand justice for Slay Delta Corp. Oluibadan Olakuni enthronement process begins on Tuesday. More detail of that enthronement can be found on page 3, and that's all on the Punch newspaper.
On Nigerian Tribune, how 137 Kuriga pupils were rescued coming from the defense headquarters. We will make our schools safe and secure, an assurance from President Tinubu. IGP Special Intervention Squad arrives Kaduna. 8 killed, houses burned in Plateau, 4 die in Bauchi stampede. Ibadan Kingsmakers may meet tomorrow to ratify Olakuleyin as next Olubadan. You can find details on page 5. No contact yet after 9 days. Wife of abducted editor cries out. Abductors of Edo PDP chairman contact family, demand 500 million naira ransom. Lagos fully ready for state police, coming from Attorney General. Nnamdi Kanu's family raises fresh concern over his health. 12 states apply for Electricity Regulatory Commission. Edo, Ebonyi, Anambra, Labour Party caution over Abuja Gero Power tussle. Details can be found on page 4, and these are the major stories on Nigerian Tribune.
Right, let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper, where we are looking at the living wage negotiation hobbled by debt and then the poor execution in state. Now we're seeing the general price level procession year on year from 2010 till date. You can look at it from February down to the present year right now, and then we're seeing that the Nigerian minimum wage floor procession, we're seeing from the time of Obasanjo, the minimum wage then was 7,500. Then in 2010, that's between Yar'Adua and Goodluck's regime, we were having the minimum wage at 18,000. Now at 2019, minimum wage was 30,000 under the Buhari administration, and now under Tinubu, speculations are what would the minimum wage look like. Looking at the fact that about 97.34 trillion naira Nigerians debt profile as of December last year. So now, with all of these things, speculations are looking at what will the minimum wage be. And we know we're keeping our fingers crossed by Wednesday, Thursday, the committee is meant to submit their report on what they were able to come up with as a realistic minimum wage. So our fingers are crossed, and we hope to have more conversation finally where we get the report on how much the minimum wage will be. More detail can be found on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Crisis looms in Ondo. APC as elders insist on preferred governorship aspirant. And on the issue of insecurity, Tinubu's government has failed. Enough is enough, says northern elders. Resident battle hunger over Okwama military crisis. You can find more detail. We will recall last week we saw where a number of them are actually hiding in the bush because of what is happening. Definitely there will be hunger. Many fear dead, 15 houses razed as youth clash in Plateau State. Detail found on page 30. Operators begin final disconnection of unlinked SIM. So if you're yet to do that, please do try to go link your NIN to your SIM card so that you do not get affected and be disconnected. Bottom-up clash policy in the MDA's discordance tunes on bureaucracy, remedy for physical indiscipline. More detail of that can be found in the paper, and that's all on the Guardian newspaper.
On New Telegraph, foreign airlines shun code-share deal with Nigerian carrier. Europe, US, Middle East camper from strong African operators. You can start with the details on the front page. Analysts divided on rate hike as meeting begins today. That is the MPC meeting. Why security vote should be scrapped. This is coming from lawyers. Police killing, we will deny our men's killer peace. Parliamentary diplomacy critical to world peace and conflict resolution. This is coming from Senate President Opabio. Veteran actor Amechi dies at 61. The big story, 3 days to 1 billion naira ransom deadline. Troops rescue 137 abducted Kaduna school children. Defense headquarters confirmed support from local authorities and government agencies. We had sleepless nights waiting for our children, coming from parents. Government deploying strategies to ensure safety in schools. Abbas Atiku Obilud release and urges enhanced security. IGP Special Anti-Kidnapping Squad deployed in Kaduna State. In Bauchi, Zakat distribution turns tragic as stampede claims many lives. Police confirm 4 deaths. Soldiers killed as terrorists attack Yobe military base. Edo PDP chairman's abductors demand 500 million naira ransom. On Palm Sunday, emulate humility of Christ, can urges leaders. Constitution amendment rekindles call for confab report adoption. Details can be found on page 9 to 11. We have a study, smoking may lead to more belly fat and diseases. That's all the news on New Telegraph newspaper.
On the Vanguard newspaper, here we're having Monday interview concerning the issue happening in Benue State. In Benue, we have more ghost schools workers than real ones, and I think this really calls for much to be done, where we're seeing how we save billions of naira and then discloses why he left the priesthood for politics. So you want to know that interview, you can flip to page 14 of the Vanguard newspaper and read more detail of that. How 137 Kuriga school children teachers were rescued. And the Niger Delta leaders, stakeholders to the federal government, pull army out of Okwama, other Delta and Bayelsa communities to relieve the tense situation in the oil region. Want whoever killed or stole arms ammunition from soldiers to quickly return them. Army urges cooperation of communities to recover the stolen rifles. As we have Urobo youth appealed against OD experience in Okwama. IYC denies alleged plan to attack military facility and location. And then also we are having the Ohoro forest ambush. Delta police nab 3 suspected killers of the officers. That you can find on page 12. So this issue concerns what is happening in Okwama. Here we are having a number of elders and also stakeholders that say the army should be withdrawn. So you can read more detail of that on page 5, and we hope to hear your own view whether you actually agree to that or not. The issue of hunger in the land, Kano governor hails Dangote on palliative to resident. That you can find on page 9. Sarah to Tinubu emulate OTOB court judgment stop pensions to ex-governors. More detail found on page 9. Manufacturers' forex losses rises to 566% to 772 billion naira. Respite underway as Naira strengthens. More detail found on page 20. And on Edo Guber, INEC ends nomination of candidates to unveil the list today. Apata Obedience Movement disagree over the LP primaries. Exercise was cash and carry coming from the Obedience Movement. LP conduct best primary coming from Apata. So you can find more detail on page 11. Also, we have appoint foreign coach face lawsuit on the issue of sport coming from Uyema. And we also have other column. Now, the picture story here we can see is the Kano State Governor Dangote distributing rice in Kano State. This is, and then we can see Dangote together with the governor of the state standing by his side as they give out the rice to people and residents of Kano State. And we really hope to see more people doing the same. Well, before we continue further, we would love to take a break. Quite a lot to actually chew. Drop your comments and your views, as we said earlier on the show. And when we come back from the timeout, we will continue with the paper review. Please stay tuned with us.
Hello viewers, my name is Amaka Ocheke. We anchor the program, The Living Room, right here on Equa TV International.
You are welcome to watch us every Monday.
The Living Room is a very interesting family program where we discuss everything you want to know about family.
Talk about our children's mental health.
Keep watching. Our program is always here, 5:30 every Monday. We want you to ask questions. We want you to phone in and drop topics that you want us to talk about, even on our media handle on Facebook. We're there. So keep watching, keep listening. The Living Room.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, it's still the Dailies. We have been looking at a number of stories on the paper. What can have to say concerning the Palm Sunday, as we know this is the Holy Week transiting to Easter, which will be on Sunday. And also we are seeing the issue of the student that we've been kidnapped in Kaduna. We've seen that the whole 137 students are back to their parents. Initially, we had the figure at about 287, but here we're having the governor coming out to actually rectify that the number actually is 137, that those other numbers were just imagination. So we hope that we get more clarity as the day goes by. We have other stories on the front page of the paper, which we will love to continue to review, and we hope you will drop your comments and your view on any of the story that is of interest to you. I still have Rachel with me in the studio. Thank you, Rachel.
You're welcome, sir.
All right, please, let's continue with the paper review.
On the Abuja Inquirer, outrage as police mourn officers killed in Delta and Imo. If security personnel are killed like chickens, who is safe? And I was just about to say something like that. We are in an era where we have security personnel, military, we're seeing police just going out as if, you know, they weren't trained at all by common men out there. And then you wonder if we have our security men going out like that, then who are you to stand the force of insecurity in this country? It's really a sad one on so many levels. You can start with the details on the front page. 2024 budget, Senate approves additional 130 billion naira for FCT. FCTA begins rehabilitation of public schools, warns against sabotage. Dangote Foundation launches nationwide food intervention program. 25% of Nigerians still use unsafe water. A report from the federal government, and I believe the federal government are still the ones responsible to make sure that there's no longer a 25% of the population that have unsafe water. The big story behind the rod in Abuja School for the Gifted. Students defecate in the open. Headers take over premises. You can find details on page 3. Nigeria tops 2.5 million Africans with TB in 2022. That is tuberculosis. This is a report coming from the World Health Organization. You can find details on the front page. I recently know someone who lost their life to tuberculosis. So if you think it's not a deadly disease or it's just cough, it's not just cough. You need to go and get tested. You need to know what is your status as it is now, and then just treat yourself from it, because it is deadly. It still kills people like any other disease. You can find details on page 3. Picture story, Hosanna in the highest, a celebration of Palm Sunday across the world, not only Nigeria, yesterday, and that's all the news on Abuja Inquirer.
You know, Rachel, this issue of tuberculosis, it happened that yesterday was the World Tuberculosis Day. So there was a number of free tests, free checkups that were done for people. And in fact, even not tuberculosis day, most time, this thing doesn't really cost you much.
Yes.
You just go get yourself tested. There are so many NGOs that run it very free. The only thing that might cost you a little token will be maybe for the drugs and all of that. But there are NGOs as well that are trying their best to give you free of charge. And I just like you rightly say, do not wait until it gets out of hand. You might just think it's a cough, but any cough that has gone down for more than a week, 2 weeks, you should check that cough. It might actually be a sign of other things complicated, not even tuberculosis. Alone. So it's very important. Let's get ourselves tested so that you don't end up running helter-skelter, thing that you should have done, and then you end up losing your life. Well, let's take a look at Daily Independent newspaper. Emulate OT stop pension to ex-governor Serap tells Tinubu. And I remember, Rachel, when we saw the story when the governor of OT actually stopped that, and we saw the House of Assembly, State House of Assembly in that city, henceforth there will be no payment. And a number of people really applaud him for taking that step, because definitely it will start with him. So he's not going to get any pension. And we've seen governors that right from the very first last year that they got into power, they have not received salary till date. They choose to make that money to be used for so many other things. So here we are seeing Serap telling Tinubu that he should emulate that. And I remember you and I also say the same thing. How many more states are willing to do the same thing? Especially states that you know you don't really have any revenue whatsoever. You are not generating much in your state, yet you have to borrow so you can actually keep up to the standard of these former governors, ex-governors and their deputies. Well, our fingers are crossed. Let us see what the president have to say concerning this coming from the Serap, because we know that Serap have been known for talking, suing, and Nigerians are waiting for when Serap will actually take the step. But then we are hoping that eventually the right thing will be done.
I mean, it's great, and I'm looking. It's going to be a difficult one. A lot of states looking at the fact that if you put this now in your state, it starts with you. And this is where I keep saying we are waiting to have selfless leaders in Nigeria. There's no growth that takes place with selfishness. Leadership is not about you being served. It's about serving people. I think that's the #1 thing about it. Because every other person is doing their job. They are being paid. So you should understand that they are not serving you, they are working. So you're also expected to work. But selfless things are these kinds of things that come into place when you pass a law that you know you will be affected by it directly. Because now once you leave the office as a governor, there's no pension coming to you whatsoever. And to take that bold step, is something that should be applauded. And we are hoping to see others following suit also. They might be few, but either way, let's see them doing it. And then imagine if the president was to take a bolder step and put it in a way that, you know what, if we can see it gradually taking place. There are ways to go about it, you know, you understand, Selem, not to impose, but certain things can be put in place to see that, you know what, the cost of governance is cut from the top, and then whether we like it or not, it goes down. There are certain things you can put that even if they don't take away pension for ex-governors, for example, there are other things that you put as laws, as regulations, as bills that you will pass that will automatically cut the cost of governance. And then we will start seeing that governance is not consuming or gulping our resources, looking at our budget, I mean, our debt deficit as it is now.
That's very true, Rachel. Still on Daily Independent, NIMED helps on effective early warning system to boost food security in Nigeria. You can read detail of that in the paper. After Kaduna student release, Tinubu vows to make schools safe. Afenifere Pandef, Middle Belt Forum launched government security agency and others. Asked the federal government to apply same strategy for other victims. More detail found inside the paper. Edo PDP chairman abductors demand 500 million naira ransom. You can read more detail on page 6. Police confirm 4 women dead in Bauchi Zaka collection stampede. More detail on page 7. Airport security audit. Nigerians' performance is with huge success coming from the ICAO team leader. Tinubu turned 72 on March 29, asked Nigerians to skip celebration over the mood of the nation. Nasu Sanu ends 7-day warning strike says work resumes today. Nasu Sanu end their 7-day warning strike, say work resumes today. Unknown gunmen kidnapped 10 artisans in Benue State. The Patriots Summit declaration of new constitution to Tinubu and the National Assembly. No plan by Ijaw youth to attack military facilities, says the INC. You can read that on page 6. We have a picture story on the front page of the paper. You can do well to grab the paper in more detail of any story that is of interest to you.
On the Daily Times, the big story, how 137 Kuriga school students were rescued, coming from the defense headquarters. Tinubu welcomes safe return of kidnapped school children, says schools must be made safe and secure for learning. Ijaw National Congress demands justice for soldiers killed in Delta, debunks report of its planned attack on military across the Niger Delta. Donate to charity in my name, not birthday bash, says President Tinubu. Investment in agriculture, panacea of insecurity and poverty. This is coming from OB. Abductors of Edo PDP chairman contact family, demand 500 million naira ransom. Nimet forecast 3-day sunshine, haziness from today. Details can be found on page 5, and that's all news on the Daily Times.
All right, let's take a look at the Nigerian News Direct. Dangote spent 15 billion naira on food intervention programs across Nigeria. Osun PDP raises alarm over plan to arrest state officials, detailed on page 4. Still on Nigerian News Direct, we have the 137 abducted Kurege students. Children regained freedom after 2 weeks in captivity. Governor thanks the president, NSA, and the NA. Some of the children are now orphans. This is an allegation coming from the parents, because some of the parents slumped down and died because they couldn't bear the absence of their children. President Tinubu, to mark his 72 birthday in Loki, urges donation to charity. NDLEA strike hard over 44,948 kilograms of drugs seized in multi-state raid. We really applaud them for that nice work, and we wish them all the best as they keep doing what they do. And on the issue of the World Health, talking about the World Day for TB, on 2022, we've seen that about 2.5 million individuals contracted TB in Africa, a report coming from the World Health Organization. And it's important we read that and also do all we can do, get safe drinking water, take care of yourself so that you don't actually come in contact with this illness. And that's all on Nigerian News Direct.
On Sporting Sun newspaper, Mbappe to reveal next club before Euro 2024. Chukwueze transfer market value drops by £3 million. Koundé suffer ankle injury on France duty. Lewandowski receives $108 million a year salary Saudi offer. Man City eyeing €100 million Musiala move. You can find details inside the paper. Ancelotti, I'm lucky to have coached Milan. Man City's FFP saga dealt big twist. And from Mourinho, I'm ready to walk. I can coach anywhere. Desa's blast Pesero credits Finiti's tactics against Ghana. Team Nigeria boxers ahead to Thailand in search of Olympic Games ticket. You can find details on page 3. The big story, Chelsea ready to pay €130 million for Osimhen. Osayi Samuel to terminate contract with Fabinacci. Bassi returns to Fulham after injury. Airpeace boss threatens to sue NFF over Super Eagles coach. Osaka set for another incredible WTA ranking rise. We're looking forward to that. You can find details at the back page. And that's all the news on Sporting Sun.
On Business Day newspaper, another rate hike seen as howish the BMC meets. You can find more detail of that. We will record that the president of the central bank have said they will actually look into doing that. That's the governor of central bank talking about increasing the rates again. So you can do well to keep your finger and read more detail of that. And here we have an analysis on total human cause of Nigerian electricity crisis, which we've seen again how much Nigeria is spending to something that they're not even enjoying. We have other smaller column with some stories and even a front picture where we can see from Zenith Bank. You can do well to grab the paper in more detail of that story. And let's see the last paper, Rachel.
Yeah. On Nature News, U.S. grant $150 million to 33 Nigerian companies for agri value chain. University denies issuing lease agreement to miners in Ile-Ife. You can find details on page 5. Governor Mba pledges to generate electricity for Enugu by 2026. Lagos government set to host inaugural Climate Action Africa Forum. Details can be found on page 5. The big story, global warming, heat waves will trigger food price hike worldwide. This is a study. You can find details on page 3. Experts urge legislative ban on GMOs amid biosafety concerns in Nigeria. WaterAid unveils female wash facility at Wari School. We have a fact check. Can soursop leaves and fruit cure cancer? So if you know that fruit, soursop, you can, if the leaves is capable of curing cancer. You should find the details, and perhaps it has antioxidants that can help in the body. You can find details on page 13. And on Formula 1, Carlos Sainz ends Australian Grand Prix after Max Verstappen retirement. You can find details on page 21. And that's all the news on Nature News.
Well, thank you so much, Rachel, for doing
You're
this
welcome,
for me.
Celine.
Thank you to our viewers. Thank you also to our supporters, and thank you to the crew members for making this program a success. Until we come your way tomorrow, do have a great day ahead.